Hey everybody, we got cut off over there, but I accidentally hit the stop broadcast instead of pause, and there may actually be a way to pause, but I don't know what it is. So we ended up just stopping it, and we got to do a part two because we wanted to show everybody the marketplace and the client in the prototype. So anyway, we had a big long conversation, me and Bill here. Well, I'm kind of off the deep
We went
end.
off on a bender.
Yeah.
Too bad we didn't get that one on camera.
I know.
or video.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. So we just talked about
We'll fill you in later.
Yeah, on a different one. So anyway, well, let's just go through the client here. I think Bill understands the architecture of how blockchains work, what decentralization really means, what the difference is between us downloading this client and, for instance, going to a website or using Facebook or something like that, how it's different than those things. And the basic idea is that you have no server. So you don't have like a central server anywhere in the system. It just doesn't exist. It's not physically or programmatically, software-wise, a part of that. There is nothing there. So it's easy to think like, oh, where's the server? Where is this coming from? Where is it? Where am I connecting to? Am I connecting to a community? Am I connecting to this, connecting to that? Where in reality, what you're doing is your software is connecting to other people that have the exact same software. So your software communicates with their software, and there is nobody in between. Like you're connecting directly with them. Fully peer-to-peer. So even though this version I have here is set up for my machine at home, my machine at home is running an exact copy of the software that we're running here. So all I do at home is just download the same software, run it there, and they can connect. But it could be anybody. You can take two of them and connect them together separate from these other ones and never connect to anything else. So this piece of software connected to any other version of that software, and there is no server to coordinate that. There is no central authority to coordinate that. There is no control of that at all. The only control would be like the internet, which itself has a kind of a centralized structure, except for you can always do a mesh network. So you're still not. So no matter what happens, you can always take two routers, two computers. You can load up Neureal on this computer, load up Neureal on this computer, and as long as you have that, you have a working Neureal, period. You can be totally disconnected from the standard internet.
And you can have a power pot stove.
And you can have a power pot stove powering both of them.
Your router while you're cooking your dinner.
Yeah, and so there's nothing else you need. And you could bring people into it. You could say, well, hey, come on over to our place and hook up your own. Then you got three, right? You have a router with three, and nobody can control that. No government, nobody. Unless they come in and blow you up or something. But there's no pre-built, required, centralized cloud or server or whatever you want to call it, however you see that. There is no place you have to connect on the internet to get this to work. It has no central point of failure. So when I download this and I run this, I'm not connecting to any server out there. I'm not hooking up to Facebook. I'm not hooking up to anything. I'm just using whatever I want. It's my own stuff, and it's open source, so I can compile it myself and all that. So anyway, so that's Bill understands that. I think it's a little bit better now. Yeah, is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to screen share here, and we'll go through the marketplace. So this marketplace, hopefully is decentralized as well, and it just works from peer to peer. Peer to peer is a good way to describe it. So let me screen share here. So this hopefully will give everybody an idea of let's see, where is it? Maybe we already have it running too. It's possible. Okay. Hey, I'd sidetrack here. We have the marketplace, but let's go back and look at the miner and see what it's doing. Uh-oh. Not responding. Let's see what our client's down here. It's still trying to connect. So it's still running. Maybe it's going to take it a minute. It's probably working on the AI. That's probably why it's not responding. It's taking a lot of, it uses the CPU, which is really not the best way to do AI. The best way is to use the GPU.
And the GPU is a gaming process.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
that's
much
right.
more, it's less linear, right? It's
Yeah.
more, yeah.
It's more, what do you call it? Parallelized. It's not a serial.
It's not serialized.
It's
yeah.
got a whole bunch of little processors
Yeah.
that do things all at the same time, as opposed to like one
Yeah.
processor. No, not responding. It must be working hard or something. Okay. And we can't go back to the thing either. Let's look at our task manager, see what's going on here. Yeah, we got some major CPU action going. Wait, look at that. So it's definitely
Oh, wow. Yeah.
53%. So it's definitely running the AI algorithms. And this machine is not very powerful. So it's definitely not going to be very responsive here for the GUI. So yeah, once you start using GPUs, you won't have these kind of problems because you'll free up the CPU to be able to do all this GUI stuff, what it's good at. So we could shut this down, I guess, and quit this, close the program, and start it up again, just so we can look at let's shut this down too. You'll want to hit Control. Let's see. No, I just shut it down with the X. It's okay if it stops responding. You can always start it up with the bat again. Just make sure that's all closed down, and then you can wherever that's at here. See how we drop down? Stop.
Yeah.
So we have. All right. Let's open this back up. Run the Neureal start. The bat. That should boot everything up again. Woo. Doing a lot of stuff. All right. So we're back to here. Let's go ahead and start this so that we can maybe see it actually work. Make that full screen. Okay, I'm going to go to the market here. Okay, so this is the idea for the marketplace. What we basically want to do, I don't know if we talked about it before, I think we did, basically have this is not working. So this part of the system, the wallet works, the miner works, not the robot because that's built into the miner here, so it's the same thing. But the market does not work. So this is just a kind of a layout thing to give an idea of what we're planning on doing with this. So you have 3 different categories that you can buy in. Think of this as an app store, like on your phone. This is going to be very similar to that. So you would have you could either buy predictions, buy predictors, or robots. So the difference between what that means, predictions means that you're buying, basically you're paying for or voting on different data sources that you want predicted. So data or information streams or information, sources, places. So you would say this would be Bitstamp. So if you were, this example here is the Bitcoin to USD price. So you would say, well, I want Bitcoin to USD price based coming from Bitstamp, and I want that predicted, and that's what I'm going to spend my money on, my new coin or Neureal coin or whatever. So for the Neureal coin, you want to spend it, and you say, well, I want to spend it on predicting this price data coming in. So you would click on this, and then you could say how much, you would pick how much you want. So this is a future payment curve. What that means is you say, well, I want to pay, you could do it. The most basic one is just a straight line. So you say, well, I want to pay 100, new coin or whatever, Neureal coin. You want to pay 100 of that just for every point in the future from here on out. I'm just going to pay 100 coin to have this predicted, like for every future. Now that's actually coinage, so you can do that, and you're not losing any coin. So that's a kind of a weird concept, but the idea basically is, without going into detail about it, and I think I've talked about it before on the Hangouts, but basically you're giving up, like you have a certain amount of, depending on how much Neureal coin you own, like if you own 100 Neureal coin, you can spend 100 Neureal coinage on a constant basis. So that would take up all your coinage. If you did 50, you would have 50%. So you could spend the other 50 you wouldn't lose the 100 coin. You would just be spending the amount you normally would get for just owning the coin from the coin. So you would normally get what's called coinage. And what that means is it's like an interest rate. So an interest rate, let's say that you're making 1 coin per month. So you have 100 coin and you're making, on your interest rate, you're making 1 coin per month. Well, that 1 coin is called coin. It's called it's your coinage payment or your stake. So you're making stake. Anyway, there's a lot of weird terminology, but at the end of the day, if you have 100 coin, you make 1 coin per month on that, as an example. If you pay 100 coin for this, then you don't make that 1 coin per month. If you pay 50 of this, you only make a half a coin per month. So you can spend that coin that you would normally make on interest this way, and you have a curve. So you could make a curve on that. You could say, I only want to pay for a month and stop it completely. Or you could say, I want to pay 100 on a curve that goes down like a hill. So you want to pay 100 on the first day, 99 on the second day, 98 on the third day, 97 on the fourth day, 98, down, 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 down. And that would be kind of a straight line, I guess. So you could have a straight line. Anyway, you can change how it pays into the future. You can have like a sine wave. You could have whatever. There's a lot of different things we'll have on there to choose from, depending on how you want to pay over time.
And how you want to pay, or how much you want to pay, really depends on what kind of predictions you want.
Yes.
Right. And how accurate those predictions are.
Well, how much you care about it.
How much you care about it. So if you really want,
I really want to know how cold it is on Thursday of every month.
If you're KSL weather and you want to use this to accurately predict, you can invest a lot to get it really as accurate as possible.
Right.
Otherwise, it's a diminishing amount of accuracy.
Right. And for instance, in that case with KSL, you're selling the prediction to someone else. You'd want to pay the full 100. You'd want to pay that full amount all the time, because you're getting
to maximize the value of the prediction.
Because you want the prediction of all the time. Maybe, but you do different curves based on.
Well, maybe it's the seasonally. It may be less or more important to know.
Or I want to I want to decide if I even want to do this, 5 months from now. So I cut it off at 5 months. I say, well, I'm going to only do it for 5 months. Or you might want to do a cyclic thing, where you only do it for 1 week, turn it off for a week, turn it back on for a week, turn it off for a week. So you have that ability to pay for it into the future in different ways. So that's what this means, future payment curve. So that's what that's about. So you're giving up your thing here. Okay, so predictors. Okay, so that's that. So there'll be a whole bunch of them. So these will be, you can pop these up, you can put these in, you can send these to the network and say, here's one, we have one. You can spend it on that or whatever.
Okay. But doesn't it require that you have to have also, if you can come to the marketplace with a prediction that you want, but it assumes that you have access to enough data in order to generate that prediction. So if it's public data that you can access, great. If it's like with the cost of Bitcoin, predicting the price of Bitcoin, there's lots of data out on the internet about where the price of Bitcoin's going. You can pull in all kinds of other factors, I'm sure.
Well, and you can have different sources competing on here. So here is Bitstamp, but you may want, somebody else is going to put up, BTCE or whatever. I guess they're out of business, but they might put up BTCE as a Bitcoin to USD price, even though you're doing the same thing. It's a different source of information. There's a whole bunch of different sources. So there may be, this is for public, basically for public data generally.
Right. Okay. But you can do it, you could come to this with private data, some big data that you have, and bring that.
Put it up on here.
Put it up on here and look for people to bring algorithms.
That's right. And in that case, you wouldn't be paying your coinage. You would be getting a piece of the pot. So
because you're bringing the value of the data.
Yeah, you're putting money into it. So when you do that one, it would be like this NASA sunspots, let's say. Let's say you were the only one that had access to that sunspot data, right? So but it's not true, but let's say you did.
Right.
And you could put up 100 coin that's saying, okay, this is what I'm going to pay out over time, the same curve. You say, this is what I'm paying over time.
Right.
So I'm going to pay 100 coin over time for the next 5 months. Here's the data. Predict it. This is the prize that you can win. I've put that on.
You're bringing an incentive. I got it.
But that's not that wouldn't show up actually in this column, I don't think, because well, no, it can. These are, I don't know. We probably section out the public and the private, so that you could, when you went to do it, you could pick. Well, I want to do a private one. I don't want to spend my coinage or whatever. So like you're starting out, you probably don't want to do a coinage because you don't own any coin. So you really can't vote. If you don't have any coin, you can't vote, but you can come in and mine over here on this other data. So that's a different kind of thing because you're mining. You're not paying for this to get predicted by other people, other miners, but you could come in and put it up and that would be a separate thing, maybe over here or something. Okay, so these are predictors. What these are is you can download these to mine with. So these are your AI engines. So you could either use the Grokr engine, which is like the one we did with that I just showed you the book. The one that's built in here. This one, the miner. This is just what we call the Grokr engine, it doesn't matter. You can call it whatever. So that says Grokr, right? So that means I'm running the Grokr. So that one's free. I can just download that and mine on that. So if I pick that, it's going to change what shows up here. So I see Grokr now, and I can just run that, right? Because it's free, so it doesn't cost me anything. But I may, if I want to use this new pick one, that could cost me this much of the coin per tick. So that's what's going to cost me. That's going to be a curve as well, just like this. It could have a curve, and they'll have a curve of cost to use that to mine with. So that's how I pick that, and then I go back here, and then that would show up here, new pick. And that would be my miner that I used, and I could run that, and then that would make me money.
But that's making money by virtue of processing the blockchain, right? When you say mine, I think of
everybody kind of splits those up because of Bitcoin. With Bitcoin, when you mine,
you're hashing the blockchain essentially, right?
Yeah, we call it, we hash that through and we came up with the term predicting. You're predicting, or
so when you in this
you're running a predictor.
Mining, you're actually just saying I'm going to devote part of my processor to
predicting,
to running the algorithms against that data.
That's right. Grokr is an algorithm.
Okay.
NewPick is an algorithm. This is where you buy the predictors. That's what we call them, not miners. That's what we used to call them miners, and I default to that because I forget.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean.
But to help people understand the right terminology, the better terminology is predictors.
Okay.
So I'm picking a predictor to use to predict with.
Okay.
And so,
but in the marketplace,
it's not the same as mining.
In the marketplace, this is where somebody can go and say, hey, I'll devote some processing on a computer I have.
Yeah.
And try to earn some money,
Yeah.
earn some value, not money, earn some value to do it.
Yeah. So you should be able to like click on Grokr, you know, go over to the miner, hit start, and start making some money. You know, if you have a
By
GPU.
virtue of just crunching that data.
Yeah. Maybe you won't. Maybe it's the market says no. You're the cost of your electricity is higher than the amount of money you're gonna make. But you know what? Maybe you don't care. Maybe it's just more efficient. Maybe you can go buy a cup of coffee. You know, you would have done it anyway. Let's say you would have done it anyway. So you really like, let's say I don't have any money. I want to come use this system. I go to the marketplace. I couldn't choose what it is that I would mine on. So I go over to here because I don't have any money to choose what's being mined. But I can go over here to the predictors, get this free Grokr, and then go over here to the miner and hit start, and it will mine the things that other people have chosen, and I can get a piece of that money. So I can start making money right away.
Because you're contributing computing value to those algorithms.
Yeah, to the ones that other people who do have money have picked over here.
Got it.
So in other words, if it's the Bitstamp UBAT USD, my miner would sit there and help with that, help predict that, you know, and my machine would then be part of the network helping predict it. And without any money investment at all, I'm starting to make some money. You know,
other than the only investment being the power it takes to run your machine.
Right. So, and then the robots is really just like the automation stuff. So you can buy the bookie, which we call the bookie, which is basically the one that automatically trades. So you put in your key, you know, and it will automatically trade for you, but that might cost you a little bit to do that, you know, in some way. So that could be like $25 a month to run this thing to automatically use the data and automatically trade, use the output of the system and automatically trade for you, for instance. And so where does that money go to?
Okay, so these are the outputs.
Yeah, the robots are kind of the automation side. It's not the data and the analytics. It's not the data itself, the information. So you have all this data coming in, right? The whole flow is you have information coming in through the sources like the Bitstamp, right? You get the price. So you have the price. Then you have the predictors, which go in and try to predict that price. All they're doing is predicting the price. They're giving you information out.
Right.
They're saying this is what the price is going to be into the future.
What do you do with it?
What do you do with it? That's what the other one's about.
And as to use
got killed here. Oh no, there we are. So that means the miner's running. So if we click over on miner, we should actually be getting something here. Anyway, what were you saying?
So this is you're creating an output that you're obtaining an output that you could do something with or sell, but you have to pay for that, right?
Pay for what?
The robot. Is that right? I mean, I guess I got stuck. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, that's the point of helping you understand so that you can explain to other people. If you can understand, other people can understand. So you can help explain it. So the idea is okay, so let's I mean, the trading thing is a very good example scenario because it really kind of fits.
Because you can trade based on the predictions.
Yeah, so
yeah, I got it. Okay.
So I pick the data source here. I vote on a particular data source here. I say with my point H, if I have any, I say on the prediction side where it says predictions, I choose the data source that I want to predict, the price. It's coming from Bitstamp as opposed to coming from BTCE. So I make that choice. I like Bitstamp better. I want to predict Bitstamp. So I choose that. Then I can, if I want, add into the network, or other people can, doing the actual prediction, which is the predictors part. So you pick Grokr, you add your GPUs, you start predicting, and hopefully other people will also be predicting that and competing in. Everybody's trying to get a piece of the pie and get a better prediction. So the output is this prediction of the system. The more people get involved, hopefully the better prediction it's going to be. So here you have this prediction that's like, wow, this one's spot on. So this is like telling me exactly what's going to happen in the future. So what do I do with that information? I can stop there. I can look at that information and I can say, well, I'm going to watch that. And so if I think if this is telling me it's going to go down, I'm going to go buy the stock, right? Or you could pay some money and have an automated robot that just does it for you.
Okay, so, and the robot would be created within Neureal. In other words, you say pay some money. So
it could be free too.
So, okay, but this is somebody or the system itself that has created these robots?
No.
Or these outputs? Or?
No, the system itself can't create the robot.
Okay, so how does who creates that then? Who decides? So a programmer says, okay, I'm going to take that prediction data and then I'm going to go do something with that prediction data.
Yeah, I'm going to write some software that takes the prediction data.
But somebody else could come in and use that robot that the programmer created.
That's right.
And pay the programmer or pay the programmer for that.
For the access to that.
For the access
to that. Or I can make it an open source one and it can just be free and you can just click on it and it will go do it.
Okay, but where does that, so I assume though if somebody comes along and says, I want to pay you for what you created with that output, part of the money, part of the value goes to that programmer and part of the value goes to the Neureal system, so it gets distributed. I mean, so that it helps to pay for the processors and there's people, like in any economic system, you got people bringing value and taking value. So your bringing value is data. So bringing value is data. If you have a huge database and you want somebody else's algorithms to find predictions or information or patterns or whatever on that database, then they've got to, so then the data person who brings the data is going to bring money to the Neureal system, value to the Neureal system, so that algorithms and processors will do something with that, right? Have I come off the tracks?
Yeah, I think I'm not.
Because I'm trying to think about it in terms of, okay, this is a marketplace. I want to understand all the ways that people bring value and pay value.
Okay, so these are the.
So I get that if somebody brings data and says, hey, I need this crunched, they're paying value to the marketplace to get it crunched. If somebody creates a robot that predicts the stock market or the weather or whatever it is, and somebody wants to pay for that robot, then
no, the robot doesn't predict the stock market.
Okay, but the algorithms that do that, but the robot creates this access to the information.
No, it's the automation part. It's an automation. So you have data, you have predictions on that data, and then you have actions with those predictions.
Okay.
It's the
automation. And those actions can be sold or they can be given away. They can be open source or they can be sold.
Yeah, of course. So there's two main categories of that of robots. Number one is just human consumption of data. That's number one. That's one of the main categories that are going to be on there. It's like dial pads and things like that. It's like you imagine like you're reading the newspaper and it's for human consumption. It's the output of the prediction. What we're seeing on the screen here, it's a graph.
Let's use the weather example. It's like the forecast.
It's the forecast.
That's the output.
That's the output. So that's a graphical human consumable output. That would fit under the robot category.
Because you have the data of all.
It's not really well, it's sort of a robot because you're taking that data and you're showing it visualized, and that requires some programming to do that, right?
Right.
So what were you going to say?
No. So okay. So using that analogy, that makes sense. So because it gives me something of value to know what the weather forecast is going to be. Behind the scenes, you have tons of weather data based on movements and jet streams and
Right.
historical records. I mean, it's huge, big data, right?
Yeah.
And you've got algorithms that are crunching all that
Yes.
to create the predictions.
Yes.
But ultimately, what I get is this little app called weather.com that
Exactly.
shows me what the forecast is going to be on Saturday.
Exactly.
That's
so the
output.
robots is the output.
Right.
Okay. So that goes into
and
that category.
I might pay for that, or it might just be
Free.
Yeah. Or and
Depending on how fancy it is.
right.
If it's super fancy
Yeah.
and somebody takes a lot of work and
Right.
thinks they can get some money for theirs compared to the free ones out there,
Right.
then they can charge for it on the system.
Right.
Okay. So
And that brings value to the system.
right. There's another part of that category, right, that fits more what you think is a robot. Okay. So it's not just the display for human consumption. It's an actual program that does actionable things.
Okay.
So
it could be using the weather analogy. It could be something that that tells you, not only shows you the forecast, but it tells you when you wake up Saturday morning to bring your umbrella.
well, no, that's more of the human
Still the
consumption.
consumption. Okay.
It has to have power to do something.
All right. It could automatically regulate the thermostat at your house.
Now you're getting it.
Okay. That robot
Now you
could
get
hook into, that's all very doable. Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Okay.
That's what I mean by that's why I call it robot.
Right.
Because that's the real power, is when you start giving the AI the ability to control those things.
Right.
So that's a really awesome example.
Okay.
I'm glad you came up with that.
Glad I redeemed myself.
Yeah. It's basically the difference is one is consumable, human consumable. The other one is machine automated.
Right.
Automation.
Okay. But those are
Automation.
examples of the kinds of things that could ultimately be developed based on all of the inputs and outputs of the Neureal system, the data inputs, the algorithm inputs, the processors that get added to it, as well as, and to create a usable output.
Mm-hmm.
But again, in terms of a marketplace, people would pay for that. And where does that value go? Does it all go to the programmer? Does some of it go to the person who's donated or contributed processing power to it? Does some of it go to the person who has contributed an algorithm to it or algorithms to it?
Some of what?
So if I pay for the convenience of having my thermostat lowered and raised based on the predictions of the weather that come out of the system, that money, that value, what I pay goes into the Neureal system, right?
Not just generically, it goes in through this marketplace.
It goes into the marketplace to the programmer who developed that, but doesn't it trickle down to the processors and the algorithms isn't that all part of the marketplace?
Are you asking
I'm trying to think of it economically as I try to.
One thing I think you're missing is that it is a marketplace. So what that means is that everybody pays everybody else, a decentralized marketplace.
Right.
So if I'm paying for the bookie, that's going to one person. That's all I know.
Okay.
If I'm paying for the bookie, which is an automation.
Okay, but the book, you're paying for the bookie, but then the bookie is paying for the processors and maybe the data.
He's not, but the guy, the bookie, in this, there's going to be a million different situations.
Sure.
So you're asking me something that.
How does the economic system work from the point of view?
There's a lot of different ways it can work. So you have to look at examples.
Okay.
This is an example. So if I'm paying the robot bookie, I'm paying for the use of this software, nothing else. The guy who wrote the software, he's getting paid because he thinks that he can sell the software just like you would buy it online. So he says, I wrote this amazing software. I think people should pay for it. And I'm going to put it up there just like an app on the App Store. And I'm going to get all the money from that. If people use my app, that's going to come all to me.
Right.
And I'm going to get it all because I wrote the app. Because that's all they're doing.
But in the economic system, he wrote the app, but in the economic system, that programmer is also, in order for him to create the program, he needed the algorithms and the data.
Not at all. He doesn't need the algorithms and the data to create a piece of software that goes out and uses the algorithms and data. He doesn't have to pay for it. He doesn't need it to create it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess your misunderstanding is just a misunderstanding of how the technology we have works. So you're just misunderstanding how the technology works. So how it works is if I write a piece of software, I assume all this because I'm deeply embedded in it all the time, so it's easy for me to understand. But if I write a piece of software, it uses data. It runs code that reads data.
Right.
It doesn't need the data to have the code.
Okay.
So if I write a book, let me see if I can get an analogy. If I write a book, a story, okay, it's not the same thing as that. It's not like writing software is not like writing a story. You're writing instructions that can then do things.
It refers
to some story.
Right.
I mean, to some data.
It refers to data. It refers to programming elements in order to create the output that you want from the program.
Right. So it does. When I write a bookie or write an automation software, I do not need access to the data. I can write it without the data, and then I can sell it, and other people. It itself goes out and gets the data that I wrote. I wrote the instructions. I wrote the thing of making cooking. Okay, that's really a good way to understand it. Cooking. Take cooking. If I write a recipe and I sell that recipe, I do not have to have I don't require the apples and tomato or whatever it is that I need for the recipe. I don't sell those with it.
Okay.
Other people go out and get it. I'm just selling the recipe.
But let's go back to the weather analogy. So you've got lots of data. You've got lots of algorithms.
Who's got lots of data?
Well, in order to do weather predictions accurately, call it the weather, NOAA, the National Weather Service. They're already doing this. They already have massive amounts of data, and they have algorithms, right?
No, but where do they fit in Neureal?
Well, let's just say they wanted to use the Neureal network to better process their data, their big data that they have.
For who?
For themselves.
Okay, so
just like
that's an example.
Just any other research entity could come to this and say, I'm using this grid computing network to process this massive amount of big data I have.
But that's different than if I use it to change the thermostat in my house.
Well, but it connects to that. So if
it doesn't, in the sense of the bookie, okay, the actual program I run that I download and run on my machine at home that's connected to my sensors. So if I'm sitting at home, I have a computer at home, I download Neureal, right? Now that bookie is written in a way. Remember, it's just the instructions. It's just the recipe. So I download the recipe and I pay for that recipe. I pay maybe a one-time fee. I pay $5 for that recipe or something, and I get the recipe, and it's revealed to me. And then my machine at home goes out and it runs that code, and it does a couple different things. Okay, that code, then a recipe, goes and does a different thing. Now remember, it's running on the machine. So it goes out and, first it goes out and needs to get the prediction data. So the prediction of the weather for where I'm at. So it goes out to the Neureal network, and it goes out and it grabs the information from public source. Okay, now what if that source costs money?
Mm-hmm.
Then I have to give it money.
Right.
I'm giving to spend my money. It decides how to spend my money. It's still my money sitting on my computer at home. It just decides how to spend my money.
Right.
So it goes out, the bookie program has nothing to do with the guy who wrote it. He just wrote the recipe. Right. I grabbed the recipe. I'm now executing the recipe. I'm creating the food at my house. So I'm actually paying these people for the data. So the program does it for me, but in essence, I'm doing it. So I'm trusting the program to do it for me. So it goes out, it takes the money I put into it, it goes out and buys the data from another place, right? Which is another part of the network.
Right.
But it's still Neureal.
Okay. But it sounds like it's saying the same thing I was trying to say. Maybe I just didn't say it well.
Well, you were saying that the guy who wrote the program is paying for the data. That's what you were saying, and that's where you made the mistake.
Okay.
I'm paying for the data.
The user of the
program. User of the program pays for the data. That's why I had to bring in the recipe, food recipe analogy.
I got it. Because, yeah, I got it. It's just a vehicle. The bookie is just a vehicle that's going to do something useful by virtue of access to that data. But if somebody wants to use the program, the thing that does the useful thing, it has to pay for the data. I have to pay for the data if I want to use the program.
Yeah, you pay whoever has the data.
Right.
Whoever has access, whatever you want, you pay it. It's not the guy who wrote the program. You don't go to the manufacturer of the car to buy gas. You're not forced. The manufacturer of the car does not buy the gas for you.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with it.
It's just providing the vehicle.
He's providing the vehicle. Yeah.
Okay.
That's where you were confused. You thought that the bookie, for some reason, that the person who wrote this, that there was some
that they
had control of it somehow,
or that they have to even buy the data. All they have to do is create the logic.
That's right.
And if you want that data to do something useful to you through their logic,
that's right. Now you got it.
Okay.
You have to buy the data, or maybe it's open free,
or it might be free. Right.
And so you just.
But that's how the economic value would be transferred. You would pay for the program, and you would pay for the data.
And you pay for the data.
Right. And you'd even maybe pay for the algorithms.
Pay for the algorithms, the crunch data.
All right. But the program is the vehicle to get to those things, to have those raw things, the raw data, the raw algorithms, do something that makes something of value for you.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and there's two ways to do that. Like I said earlier, just to recoup, there's either a human consumable program, like if you want to put them in categories, or there's an automation program that controls it itself. So in the weather situation, you have this program that goes out and pays automatically for the data. It gets the prediction of the weather. This is the logic that it follows. It gets the prediction of the weather, and then it goes out and turns off and on and controls your thermostat. So it has logic or connection in your house, but it's running on your computer.
Yeah.
So you're totally 100% responsible for it. So this stuff works that way. So how you would do that is you just pick it. So you'd be like, okay, I picked this, right? Which means I'm paying for it now. And then they may have a bunch of options and things I have to do, like it downloads something, and then, maybe I have to connect up my home, temperature control system. I have to type in the password to access that. And then now it has access because it's a standard protocol, or it works with IoT, so Internet of Things. So, there's going to be protocols and stuff for IoT. So people are going to actually have those things.
Okay.
And there's going to be standard protocols.
Okay.
And so this robot can then control those things through those protocols.
Okay.
Okay, so that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So it's not there is no set particular thing. There is something kind of what you're talking about. Where does the system pay for? Where does the system itself pay for something? And that does happen. Like the system itself pays for things, right? Creates value out of nothing.
So give me an example.
And we talked about that before, but it does do that, and that is the interest rate.
Okay.
The interest rate that I was talking about over here, let's say you have 100 coin and you get 1 coin a month. That 1 coin a month comes from nowhere.
That's the
inflation.
Okay. And that part still escapes me, but that's okay. I don't have to understand necessarily why. Eventually I want to, but right now I don't want to hold it up.
It's distribution. It's about distribution. So it's about distributing the coin, creating something from nothing, but it actually does have value. It's the future value of the system. It's like a hedge or a bet. So when you buy into it, you're betting on the future value of the system.
Okay.
And you're inflating it, which means that you're increasing the supply. At some point, though, with like Bitcoin, there's a maximum supply.
Right.
With this, we could do that. We could have a maximum supply. So at some point, it stops giving it out for free. It's just like, okay, forget it. We've distributed enough. Everybody's using it. The system itself won't give anything out, create something from nothing, because it now is something. Like enough people are using it. So it's mainly about the initial distribution is what it's about. And it's about creating new coin, starting from zero, creating new coin as the thing gains value, hopefully. It would be better if it was some sort of a switch. Jordan and I have talked about that a lot. But anyway, that is a story, a conversation for another time. We probably have talked about it before. But the basic idea is that there's something in there like that. And that is what funds basically these public predictions that make them free, basically.
Okay.
So that's the only like structured thing that we've put in. We've added that just for that ability.
And is that typical with
Yes.
cryptocurrencies?
Yes.
Okay.
Very typical.
Okay.
Ethereum does it. That's exactly what they're doing.
Okay.
They have a different structure. Everybody has a different way they do it.
Right.
How much do you do pre-mine? How long is it going to go? Is it constant all the time, or is inflation? Does it drop off like Bitcoin? How does all the money structure work? And you have total control of that, and people can buy into it. And you may have competing systems because of it. Maybe we design it here, but everybody's like, well, that's stupid. And then somebody else makes one better using the exact same code base. They just change a bunch of the parameters, which is exactly what happens in Bitcoin all the time. There's a million cryptocurrency copies out there where all they did was change the parameters, made it, instead of 21 million coin, made it 50 million coin, and just changed parameters. And they're like, okay, do we like this better or something? Maybe Bitcoin will change theirs at some point, or people will sell their Bitcoin and do another one. So anyway, so hopefully that helps you understand a little bit better.
Bit by bit, bit by bit.
So it's not, it's an open market. That's the idea. So we're trying to create an open market, which makes it simple to program. We actually have two different, we only have two different transactions that are this. It's an offer and a buy, like a sell and a buy and a sell. That's it. Those are two transactions. This is what and there's metadata associated with it. So this is what I have to sell. This is how much it costs. This is where you get it. This is how you download it or get access to it. This is the key to decrypt it. So if it's encrypted, you pay for it. So we offer basically the infrastructure to make a distributed marketplace work using the blockchain. So that's it.
Okay.
So we're almost getting close to 7 here. That's a lot of hours. So yeah, it's hard to get this. The miner never showed up here, but if you have a beefier machine than this, it will work. I have an 8-core at home. That's probably why this one doesn't work, because but if you have an 8-core, it'll work. So anyway, I guess we should wrap up. We're getting tired here. Here, I'll stop sharing so we can see ourselves and say goodbye.
See our tired selves.
Our tired selves.
Our fried selves.
We're fried. So hopefully all this evolves into something that's like super easy. You just point and click, boom, 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 boom. And then we want to bring AR, our virtual reality into it. So you don't even have to point and click. You just kind of like, yeah, you just throw some stuff over there, grab some stuff here, eat it.
I can't go there yet, but
I want to eat some data.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Let me get my arms around the basics.
Okay. All right. So we'll say goodbye. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Will.
Yeah.